My name is Ashley, and I am here with Bella, and we are going to be taking you on a journey into your body graph, which, if you are not familiar with that terminology, your body graph is your human design chart. You can pull that up at bit.ly/genetic matrix. And if you do have that chart in front of you, you'll be able to see a chart filled with centers. And so we're going to show you how you're going to be able to leverage your energy centers to create and sustain abundance in all areas of your life. This starts with the awareness of the themes of these energy centers. And this masterclass is an exploration and activation of these 9 centers and the inner archetypes that reside within them. Harmony within your energy system creates harmony without. And you're designed to be abundant. So it's time that you start living that abundant expression in all areas of your life. And so each of these different centers, which we like to call hubs, have a different theme and expression. And so when you're able to look at those, you can see, is it in balance? Am I living a fully expressed, true to me life? It is time to thrive by design. Bella, did you want to come in and say kind of what does thrive by design mean to you?
Well, I dressed with this kind of snake thing today because for me, design has been coming back to the body and coming back to the truth of who I am. And I am very splenic in my design, very sacral, very actually intuitive and instinctive. So the more I can trust the centers that are defined in my chart and live from those centers, the more I feel home. And then all the open centers become this wisdom that I can reflect back to the world. So it has been huge. And I thought that was I didn't think I was somebody else, but I lived as somebody else very much a decade ago. So for me, thriving by design is to be you in the world and to be grounded in your body, because once you're grounded in your body, you have access to all the more subtle layers. And then there's nothing you can't feel, you can't live from there.
And we're all designed to be abundant. We have access to, if you can see over here on the body graph, 9 different centers. It's a little bit different than the chakra system, right? We only have 7 in the chakra system. Within the physical body, we have tons more chakras outside of the physical body, but there's 7 within the physical body. And here we have 9. And so you'll notice that that's a little bit different. However, we've evolved. And this is a representation of how the energy flows through your system. And we have different activations from the moment that we're born. And those are the gates and channels that you see in white here. So your body graph is going to look uniquely different than anyone else's because you are designed to be differentiated. You're designed to be your own person, and everybody is different. They look different, they act different, they think different. And so the more we get to know ourselves, the more we get to accept and embrace this unique design that we were gifted with, that we actually chose, that our soul decided to, this is what's going to support my evolution. This is what's going to support me here on earth. And these are the lessons I want to learn. And I'm going to need to come into this, this body with this personality. And this is what's going to help me get to that wisdom, that evolution that I'm wanting to experience on this earthly plane. So within this human design chart, this is your blueprint. We look at how energy flows, and we call the 9 centers hubs, like I said before, and each hub is like a house that has different archetypes that live within it. So the first hub that we go into is the root hub, and that one's the one that's at the bottom of your body graph. So there's the picture right here. There is the root hub. The root hub has all these beautiful archetypes within it. So you can look at this as a dormitory. And within this dormitory, everybody has their own room. So this is dorm room 58. Within that lives the vital. Then we have the 38, which we call this archetype the warrior. We have the achiever, the initiator, the magician, the mountain, the Utarian, the liberator, and the originator. And the theme here is foundation and stability. And I'll turn it over to you, Bella, to kind of expand upon the root hub.
So like Ashley said, this center is about our foundation. And for human beings in an animal body, that is about survival first of everything. So we need shelter, we need food, we need to reproduce. So all these instincts are here in this center. It is a pressure center because when we don't have these things, we are pressured to seek the shelter, to seek the food, to seek to have our family survive. So all this fuel to be able to seek solutions, to be able to survive and evolve, is here in the center. So we have the warrior, we have the achiever, we have the vital. They all have this fuel and perseverance to survive. In the gene keys, this is the codon ring of seeking. It's inherent in the human being. We also in this center have the pulse of life. When it comes to how is this center, this hub lived today, most of us, we have food, we have shelter, and we can reproduce if we want to. It's not like our survival is depending on our children. So the way that this boils down in modern society has to do with money. Do you have enough money? Then you can provide for your family, you can provide for yourself. So when we look at this hub, it's really important to understand that in modern world, financial stability is very much what creates this, and what kind of makes us have enough foundation in order to expand to other areas, to other centers in our body and embody them. It kind of starts here with this foundation. Ashley and I have been speaking about the Taurus a little bit as an archetype here, because the Taurus builds the material foundation and then it gradually builds in its life. And the last thing I would say about the integral human design here, to see how do we live this center out in a low frequency and in a higher frequency. So the low frequency is about stress. That is when you don't have enough to survive, when you don't have enough to evolve, then it is a really adrenaline infused stress that we feel in the center, the seeking but not the finding. And then in the gift frequency, there is a drive, there is this perseverance, there is this knowing that we can grow outside that structure, for example, of the 60. We're here to pulse life and to grow, and we have the drive here. So when you have this center defined, you're going to have the drive to go after things. You have a consistent fuel, a consistent drive. If you don't have that, you can feel the stress more harder in a way. You feel the stress from the outside and you feel like you don't know what to do with that stress. So be careful and aware, if you have an open route, of not allowing stress from the outside to dictate your life. Allow yourself to find your drive from the inside and live it out your way, not because of the pressure from the outside. And the higher frequency, we said the word, it is evolution. When you have more than to just survive, so Maslow's scale, when you have more than your basic needs, you can actually start to evolve, you can actually start to expand. And that is the higher frequency of this hub.
So we're going to go into the magician archetype, which you see right here. You're going to see in each of these charts, we're going to have all of the archetypes defined. So they're going to have a number. It's kind of like their room number. This is their dorm room. They're living inside this dorm together, and here's their room number. And this is who lives there. So we're going to knock on the door of the magician, and let's kind of explore, why does the magician have anything to do with foundation or stability? Is that a question that you want to jump into, Bella?
So when you have the 60 that we're going to go into now, it links to the 3 in the sacral center. And this is this pulse of life, the pulse of life that will also lead to mutation, because the pulse is not always the same. So I think it's great that we're going into the 60, and that is going to meet gate 3 and actually connect us to the sacral, because that's very much the pulse of life. That's where we come from. And the 60, we can see it as a container where we can, for example, plant a seed, and it's going to be this container for life where you can grow something. And at the same time, it's here to go beyond that container. So you can think about it as the structure that helps us grow. But there comes a moment where the 3, which is on the other side from the sacral, kicks in, and we're going to expand beyond the container. The magician is about realism, but I would say it's magical realism. It's, you think that there is a limitation and there is nothing outside, but the same way we plant that seed, it becomes a plant, and one day the plant is going to need a bigger container. And the 60, it respects the container because it knows that in that container, in that structure, it can grow, but it also knows when to go beyond it. And that's also what the eternal child archetype helps with, because the eternal child is not afraid of cracking open the container and and destroying what's been and play with the new.
I love this channel, and it's mutative, and the pressure is to mutate, to change. So both the eternal child and the 60 know nothing and the magician know nothing is ever permanent, and we need to crack the container in order to evolve, in order to start something new, in order to innovate. And so it's so magical. And I've been around people. I've been around this one person that I was around had the root and the sacral defined, and I think he only had that channel. I'm not sure, but it was definitely a mutative energy, and he totally changed things. And it's like, you can't help it. Actually, two people I know that have had that whole channel, and like, you plan something to go a certain way, and then they come in and it's like, nope, we're going to do something different. It's like that the energy of that channel is so powerful that it's really, it has the ability to impact the people around them. We're going to next take a trip over to the solar plexus hub, and you're going to see that that's over here on the right side of the body graph. It's going to have connections to the root. It's going to have connections to the sacral. It's going to have connections to the ego, the will center. And then it's also going to have a connection to the throat. So it has a lot of energy flowing to these different areas. And a lot of what's happening in the solar plexus hub is all about emotional competency and relating. And you're going to be having experiences, sensations with these different emotions, so that you can build your experience with the waves, with interaction with other people. And it's all about relationship here. You're going to have to no man is an island, and so a lot of these emotions come when we're interacting with the physical plane and other people around us. So emotional competency comes when we have experience, and it's about, if you have it defined, it's about you learning and understanding and feeling resourced in your own emotional wave. And then when you have it open, it's about you knowing how to be with the intensity of other people. Because when you have a center that's white or open, undefined, you're going to amplify the energy. So while they may be kind of feeling that emotion, you're going to feel it like tenfold. And you can either react to it, throw it back at them. You can either respond to them, be a mirror for them. It's just about your awareness of this emotionality. So yeah, any expansion on that, Bella?
I often say to people that have definition here that they're here to see all the colors of life and feel the spice of life and feel the emotions of life, like experience life. And we know that it has this wave that you often can learn about and be aware of when you get into human design. And then you're like, wow, before that, you might try to fix the wave so that you are not going to wake up one morning and feel low. But once you understand the way the solar plexus hub works, you're going to be able to actually see the beauty, even of melancholy, even of those feelings, because they give color to life, they give richness to life. So I think that is important. And then Ashley were saying about the open, I think for the open emotional center, solar plexus, it's about, we don't have that. So we look at people that have those highs and lows and we can judge them. We're like, why can you not just be okay? Why is that? And I think by learning, we understand that we are different. And for me, who has a completely open emotional center, I also feel like there is a discernment. I can often feel when there is a true emotion that is lived out kind of in a grounded way, because we're still kind of far down in the body graph. And when it's not, when it's kind of just a drama and it's not actually a color or spice of life, it's just something that kind of pulls the person off center. And if we look at those gates, we have the turbulence in the 36, the dishonor in the 22, the weakness in the 37, the conflict in the 6, the reaction in the 49, the victimization in the 55, and the desire in the 30. So you see, these are like really charged feelings that they're all here. But there is also the beauty of humanity, the beauty of grace, the beauty of tenderness, the beauty of peace, the beauty of revolution in relationships, freedom, and lightness. So the beauty when you have those gates is that you get to live that whole frequency band, and that's your life. And you kind of have to let go of trying to decide when you're going to feel them. Life is going to deliver them to you. And the more you can stay in your center and not be pulled away by the drama, but more be in the experience of these feelings or emotions moving through you, that's when the beauty of the emotional center is really being shown to you.
Hmm. Yes. And within this hub, we're going to highlight the peacemaker. I see a lot of you in the chat. A lot of you have the 6, so it's cool to be able to go into this archetype. If you're watching on Facebook or anywhere else, I'd love for you, as we're going into these different centers, let us know what archetype you have activated in there. Which of these do you have? I have the 6 in an open emotional center. So I have the 6 and the 36 because the 6 is my life's work. So with each of these, gates, they have a particular wave. And with the peacemaker, we have the frequency band goes from conflict to diplomacy to peace. And I have often experienced, and we can see that within the body graph, it goes from the solar plexus to the sacral. So it's the only one inside of the solar plexus center that goes to the sacral. So we have one channel, and this is tribal energy. This is tribal circuitry. And what that means is that we're going to be attracting a lot of this conflict turbulence within our tribe, within our core team members, family members, friendships, partnerships, whatnot, because the focus is on the tribe. And this is the gate of friction. And it's about letting in or not letting in someone else. So you're going to be able to feel that friction between the two. Like the vibrations are going to come together. And it's like, ooh, there's something off about this doesn't feel right. And it could lead to conflict, whether you're reacting or responding to it. But when you come against somebody that's different than you, and again, this is all about like who's coming in the tribe and who's not, who's allowed in the tribe and who's not. You're going to feel that friction between the other. And is that going to create conflict, or can we be diplomatic about it? And can we find a way to coexist? Can we find a way to be able to have our differing opinions and still be friends? Are we able to come together in any way? So this is about the walls and the boundaries, and then like softening or opening to them. The more you can be diplomatic about it, because just because you're different or you have a different experience or you have a different opinion than someone else doesn't mean you can't let them in. And I think the 6 is learning to open their heart despite maybe the intense emotions. And for me, having it in an open emotional center, I often find myself really attuned to when somebody has their wall up, and I often feel like it's like this dam that can break but may not break, and I want to like poke it and poke it and poke it. So I'll give voice to the thing that I'm feeling and be like, there's something here. And that's where my thing is, laser focusing into that dam that needs to break in the emotional realm. Because we can repress, we can shove down, we cannot own any of these emotions. We can dishonor our emotions. We can look at our emotions as weak. We can find that they're too turbulent, so we're going to like not deal with them. Or we can react to them and we can just like explode out of them. But oftentimes I'll feel the emotions that are really not being expressed, and it's super uncomfortable for me to feel it because I can feel the tension inside of me and with that other person since I'm reading them. So that's kind of the way that I experience that. Bella, is there anything that you want to add or clarify here?
No, I feel like you know the 6 because it's your life's work. So I feel when it comes to this hub and we look at the frequency band, the lowest frequency is this yearning that kind of feels pointless, or that feels like it's not going to lead anywhere. It's a desire or yearning that kind of just keeps going and makes us on the inside, just makes us more agitated in a way. And then on a higher frequency, it's when we can start to feel. And feeling is when you're not battling against the emotion. You're not trying to control it. You're not trying to stop it. You're not trying to have a certain emotion. You're actually just feeling what is. And that is the gift frequency. And that can be really beautiful when you have an open emotional center, when you see a person who is emotional and they are so natural with what they feel. They're so natural with emotions. For me, that is beautiful. And I feel really safe around emotional beings that are just feeling what they feel. They are not exaggerating it. They're not trying to make it stop. They are just with it in presence and awareness. And then the higher frequencies, that's serenity. And I can feel that sometimes in plant medicine ceremonies, for example, there is like so much pain often that moves through and dissolves, but still like the especially in the morning after, like there is this serenity because we kind of let it move through, and then it feels like there is calm for a little bit, and there is also this compassion in the air, in the higher frequency, that we are all human, and we're moving, or these emotions are moving through us and we're moving with them, and it's part of the human predicament. And when we understand that and have compassion for that, that's when somehow, even through deep grief or deep emotions, we can have this essence of serenity, because we're human and we accept it.
Thank you, Bella. Remember, your breath is your greatest resource. So if you're feeling the buildup or the gunk in any of these, bring your breath and your presence and your touch to these areas and just empty. Especially if if it's open for you, it could get a little bit overwhelming, and you may just need to detach, take a break, and breathe. Okay. The next hub we're going to go into is the sacral. So within the sacral, we have the nourisher, the Black Panther, the rhythmic, the powerhouse, the water goddess, the playmate, the mountaineer, the eternal child, and the nomad. And they're going to live together. And the theme here is life force and sensuality. If you have this defined, you're a generator or a manifesting generator. You are the builders of the world. You are the ones that are actually creating the life force that everybody else is feeling into, that everybody else is taking in. So the more you have that purification and the purity of this life force energy in the higher expressions of each of whatever definition you have in here, that's what you're putting out into the world. And this is also sensuality, because biologically it's linked to our sexual organs. Can you elaborate a little bit more on life force and sensuality, Bella, within this hub?
Yeah, I'm thinking about sex. So when we are in the root center, it's this vortex that is for survival. That's what animals do. That's the instinct, is to reproduce, because that's what's going to make us survive. And here we're taking it one step up. And here I would say it's sexuality for pleasure. It's sexuality for feeling life force, for experiencing. And it's much more watery somehow. It's much more in flow. I think when we speak about this hub, we do think about the generators and the manifesting generators, because it's all about learning to use your life force in a way so that you feel regenerated. You have this treasure with all these gold coins and diamonds, and every day you engage in things, and you pay for things, you exchange things, and at the end of the day, if you feel tired and satisfied, that means that you used all your gifts, all your resources in a good way. If you come back from your day and go to bed and you're frustrated and you feel like you didn't do enough or you didn't get enough, or then there is something here in this metabolism of life force that doesn't work for you. So especially if you have this center defined, that then you're going to be a generator or a manifesting generator. You want to know that your body is going to say yes to things that you have energy for. And these are the things that you want to engage in. And when you do that, it's going to feel like this regeneration. It's going to feel satisfaction, like satisfaction for you. And if your body is so intelligent to tell you no, it's like, I'm even doing this when I say no, there's a bodily function that is going to draw you towards some things or away from it. And you can take the example of food. That's how you want to relate to life. If I put 5 plates in front of you, you're going to know what you want to eat right now. Like really, that's the flow of the sacral center. In every moment, you allow your vehicle to move through something. And we didn't go through that in the beginning of today because it's longer, but really the basis of human design is really to allow the form principle, the body, to move us through life, and having our awareness, our mind, our personality kind of watch that. And that's when life isn't so much push and pull, but actually we can start to flow through life. And this hub is we could say the motor, really the driver for that way of living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll see that again with the sacral. It's connected to the solar plexus. It's connected to the spleen or the splenic hub, and then the root. And it's also connected to the G, or the identity. And within the sacral to the root is going to have that pressure, have that fuel that's going to give that sacral that energy, not the energy, but the fuel that it needs to run, because we have that motor here in the sacral, and then the pressure, the fuel, the burst comes to get us started. So if you have this defined, you're going to have that ability to start, to burst, to get things going. If you don't have a defined root, maybe it's going to take a little bit for you guys to get started. Or if you don't have a defined will, maybe it's going to take a little bit for you to get motivated, but you have the energy once it gets started to keep going. So I'm going to use my sacral to pick one of the archetypes within this hub to highlight. So because I'm a generator, I tune into my sacral, and I tune into this area of my body. If you can see my video, but I have all the different archetypes that live here in this card deck, and I'm going to use my sacral, and I'm asking which archetype wants to come forward to be highlighted for the sacral hub for all of us on the call and those listening on the replay. So I'm going to just close my eyes and tune into, like, if I'm getting a pull forward, that's what's going to tell me if it's a yes for the archetype. So I may need to go through the card deck a couple times just to like feel into the energy of them, but my sacral knows which one is the best archetype to highlight. And I'll usually feel a really strong pull. I can feel it coming. Yeah. Okay. All right. So 9. So this is the mountaineer. And on the other side of this, we have the mountain, so the 52. And the 9, the energy goes from inertia to determination to invincibility. And this one, the programming partner of it is the 16, the enthusiast. So there's something about the 9 that it kind of just chugs along. It's going to have its little steps every day to get towards that goal. So when we have that focus, this is the gate of focus, we're able to take that energy in the sacral, that life force, and put it towards the thing that we're wanting to move towards. If this was a beaver, it would be taking the log and bringing it to the dam, little by little by little, until the dam is complete. It has its goal, it has its efforts, and it's able to just focus on what it needs to do. With that hyper focus, the difficulty is excluding everything that is coming around you. So it does take a little bit of time to just like pause, breathe, and get the bigger picture too. Because when you stay too focused, you're not noticing what's happening around you, what else you need to be interacting with. And it can have that hyper focus that tunes out the rest of the world. And we always need to take a moment to kind of pull back, see what's happening, and then go back in. So little steps, little by little. Anything you want to add to the mountaineer, about the mountaineer?
I mean, I love that we have the mountaineer here as the archetype, because I think about this beautiful being that is going to climb the mountain, but it knows that it's not just climbing the mountain, it knows the richness on that mountain, which happens to be the 52, which is the harmonic gate. So when it starts the journey, it has, of course, like you're saying, actually the intention of one day being on the top and looking down on the other side. But it's so beautiful because it, in the gift frequency, it really looks forward to every experience. There are going to be all kinds of things on the way up. It might stay with a tribe somewhere on the mount, on the way up to the mountain. It might be another place where it stays and meditates. It's going to look at the flowers, at the different things that changes when it gets higher on the mountain. And you see, there's no inertia in that. There is this curiosity of using this life force to discover, to live, to flow with all the different things that are there from the foot of the mountain to the top of the mountain. And that's how I see the 9. And it is going to arrive to the top of the mountain, but it's going to be so rich and regenerated by everything that it experienced on the way up. And that is exactly the way that the sacral functions when we are regenerated as manifesting generators or generators. And I just want to say, if you have this center open, if you are a reflector, if you are a projector or a manifester, it can like feel like other people's energy comes into you, and you might think, you know, when you're with them that you have so much energy, and then you can have this feeling like when you come home at night or when you're not with these people anymore, like I don't even know what I got energy from, but now I'm exhausted. So kind of check in with yourself. Are you running on your life force, or are you being influenced by somebody else and kind of running at their pace? So for all the non-sacral beings, it is to check in with your energy and see where you're at. And we often say, if you are non-sacral, it's good for you to actually go to bed before you're really tired. If you are sacral being with this center defined, it's good to like be really tired. It's not the tiredness that's wrong. It would be the frustration and not feeling satisfied with your day. That is that red flag.
Mm-hmm. What are the frequencies of this center?
So here we have, I love this, in the low frequency we have reaction. So that's when there is no awareness, like we just react to something, and that can be, you know, somebody gives you, again with food you don't like, you just lash out, that's not what I want to eat, kind of thing. So it's this instinctive response when kind of life doesn't really flow for you. And then in the higher frequencies, see, I don't even know where I am. In the higher frequencies, we have what we always hear in the Striding Authority. It's this response to life. Yes, you know, yes, no, yes, no, allowing your body to kind of go towards and away from things. And then I've said it before, like the last few minutes, flow. You know, it's that knowing when you're supposed to move on, when you're supposed to eat, when you're supposed to be. It has that in it, and it's a very essential way of being when that is how you allow your life to move. It's natural, essential, it's in flow. It's also beautiful to look at, and I know, you know, I feel like people that don't have this defined, they can look at sacral beings and be like, wow. And the last thing I would say, Ra always said that the sacral being that doesn't have the solar plexus center defined, so it would be open solar plexus and then you have a defined sacral. These are the truly spiritual beings, because they can be like Buddha, you know, they can be so much in their body, so much in the moment of response, that it's very spiritual to just be in response to life and not in reaction to life. And it looks like a dance.
Dance of life force. I love it. For those of you that asked, the cards that I used were the Human Design Quantum Activation cards by Karen Parker. And that's the 9. Okay, moving onward. We are at the splenic hub now, and this is all about instinct, intuition, and body awareness. And you're going to see that we have the librarian, the intuitive, the grid worker, which we're currently in transit, activated by the sun right now. Lots of splenic activation this past month and a half. And then we have the maestro, the guardian, the daredevil, and look, the perceiver in its correct location. Beautiful. Yeah. So again, we say body awareness. It has to do with the immune system. It has to do with you knowing, I feel good, I don't feel good. Knowing what you need for your body, knowing, you know, time awareness. The instinct is like, this is about survival too. It's about survival of the species. And the intuition is like your intuitive senses and knowing like, what do you need right now? Moving towards that. And the intuition is that quiet voice, that quiet like nudge that comes in. That's not repeated. It's always in the now. Any expansion on the splenic? And for those of you that have activations in the splenic hub, thanks for putting them in the chart as well.
Yeah, if you're new to this, you might say, okay, but what's the difference then with the sacral and the spleen? If the sacral is to respond to life and body awareness, what's the difference? Well, the response in the sacral, like I say, it has a lot to do with flow and sensuality. So it's kind of like this in its way of being. When we come to the splenic hub, this is the first awareness center that was developed long before human beings existed. So here we have we really have this alertness of, we could say, like the animal alertness. It's kind of the crocodile that lies in the water, and then suddenly, like, it just, and it eats whatever is there. It's really this instinctive in the moment. And yeah, people that are splenic, they are going to, like, they're going to feel things. They are going to have this feeling of like, okay, no, this is the instinct that something they need to do something differently. They need to drive another way to work. Like, it comes, and it's not really explainable, because it's something that comes from the body. So this is what we hear, this is how things taste, this is how things feel. Like, it's all the senses, I would say, and the sixth sense of intuition as well. I mean, in the low frequency, it would be a little bit connected, I would say, to the root. We have channels that are connected between the spleen and the root, and it would be this kind of alarm, and I think in the low frequency, you can kind of go into possibly false alarm, because if your body is really stressed, it might alarm you of things that are actually not so important. So I can see how it can get stuck in the lower frequency on this alarm level, where it just kind of shoots you like instincts that aren't necessarily the right to follow, and it can actually paralyze you in this kind of animal alertness in a really low frequency. And in a higher frequency, it is about daring to really trust your body in all moments, even when it gives you those like little intuitions that you don't like know if you hear, but then you often, something happens and you know that your body was right. How many times has that happened? Like, even something stupid as, like, I have this orchid on my table, and I could feel yesterday that maybe it's a little bit too close to the side, and then it falls into the floor. Like, I knew it before it happened. So that's the kind of, I don't know why I feel like today to explain it is a little bit far-fetched. It's not far-fetched. It's actually really easy. It's the way that we feel with our body what's right and what's not right. And in the highest frequency, it's actually about presence. It's really about, sometimes when a dog sleeps and you can see that there are some sounds around, and you can just see their ear kind of going in their sleep like this, it's like that presence, that attunement to the moment completely. And they don't need to alarm. Like, some dogs kind of go up and bark and alarm. Well, then they're kind of down in the low frequency. In the high frequency, it's just that attunement to just hear kind of the wind and know what that means for you.
Is there an archetype that your intuition is telling you that we should highlight with the center, this hub?
I would probably go to the 44, for example, because that takes us to the smell, and that is going to discern, and it's actually connected to people. It's going to tell us who is worth to be friends with, who is worth to have in your life. And it does it based on smell. And smell can, for human beings, I think it can be a little bit even more big than just your nose, but it's going to include the nose for sure. And it's a discernment that comes from your intuition, from your smell, of like who you can work with, who is part of your grid, who is part of your allies.
Wonderful. And if you want to hear more about the 44, you can go on our Unlock Your Design page. And Bella and Indon, they talked about the 44. We have Synarchy sessions every Friday. So if you want to learn more about the 44, you can go check that out. Okay, so let's move on to the next hub. We good to go? Here we go. All right, the ego hub. Or we can also call this the will center, or we can also call this the heart. There's so many different names that they like to give this one little center. And within the body graph, we're going to see it's right here. It has connections to the identity center. It has connections to the solar plexus. It has connections to the throat and the splenic hub. So here we have the hypnotist. We have thunder. We have the manager, and we have the father. And you're going to have that either colored in or open. Bella, for example, she has hers completely open, so she has no activations here. None of these archetypes are, nobody's home. There's nobody home in her ego hub. I have the 26, the 51, and the 51 in a defined ego center, ego hub. And the theme here is commitment and willpower. Can you expand on this, Bella?
Yeah, I love these words when it's defined. It's like, it's so cool when people have a defined ego center. I think it's less than 35% that have a defined ego center, but they just have this commitment and willpower when it's something that they feel sure about. So the worst thing if you have a defined ego center is to try to commit or have willpower of something that doesn't resonate with you. It has to be like a heck yes, and I know that I'm going to take this to the end. That's the way that this center works. It knows, and when it goes for it, it's gonna succeed. So it's important here to kind of choose the things that you go for, and if you have it open, which is then 65-70% of the population, it actually boils down to worthiness. Because in this world, we are so conditioned that we have to set a goal, and then we need to have the commitment and the willpower to reach that goal. And if we don't do that, then we are failures. So for example, if you're a manifesting generator, you know that your energy sometimes go towards something and you start it, but then it's not there anymore. Well, that's okay for you, because you're here to also initiate things and not always finish them to the end. So there is something with this center, especially when it's open, that can become like a big heavy thing on us, because we think we need to finish everything we start. We think we need to have that willpower to go to the end. And if it's open, you don't want to let your worthiness depend on what it is that you're able to finish, what it is that you can push to and through. So if it's open, I would say look at those people that have the defined ego. Ashley works really well under pressure. Like, she was preparing some of these things yesterday, and I love this kind of webinar, because it's just in flow. It's in response to you guys that are here, to the slides. It's beautiful. But when I have a deadline, when I have to perform in a way that I'm going to be graded, or in a way, then I really don't like to be last minute, and the pressure of the last minute can make me have like physical, like I get stomach ache, I can't eat. Like there are things really on my whole system when I'm under pressure that aren't good for me, and I feel worthless. I feel like I'm not prepared enough. I haven't studied enough. In school, it was like that for 20 years. I felt always really bad, and that I wasn't worthy, because I couldn't see in myself that commitment and that kind of almost like competitiveness that I saw in people that have a defined ego.
Competition is energy here as well. And when you have it open, you're not here to compete. You're not here to prove yourself. You're not here to like, barter your worth or your worthiness. I can usually tell within myself, like what's okay and what's not, what will I put my energy towards and what will I not. And I like pressure and deadlines are like life for me. I don't like it, but as we get closer to, I was like, oh, the energy, I'm like feeling the excitement. I don't know, it's like a high for me. I'm like, oh my God, down to the last wire. I have no idea why. But when you are with somebody else that doesn't like that, it's just about communication for like, what do they like, because you don't want to do last minute and you have to hand the baton over to them for the relay race, and then they're under pressure because you waited so long. So it's all about communication, and it's all about like respecting the other person too, and knowing their boundaries and what they need. Before we go on any farther, you guys are the ones that are going to get to choose which archetype within this hub. And Bella, I have a poll prepared for this, so if you want to like activate it, they can vote, and then maybe you can go through the frequencies of the hub.
Let's see. Okay, are you ready, guys? It's launched now, so you should see it.
Came up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, it didn't come
Oh,
on.
Kjetil is here from Norway. I hadn't seen you before. Well, yeah, if you have a defined spleen, you're here to compete in a way. There, like Ashley said, there can be a thrill in doing that, and you have the energy, the willpower. This is a motor, so you have that motor to compete. And we could say when we speak about the frequency band, in low frequency, this is ego. It's kind of the elbows, me and I'm going to be first. That's really the low frequency of this, and you can see that sometimes. And since and you can also see in people that have it open, that have been conditioned to think that we need to elbow, and then it even feels more off because it's actually not even natural for them. And then I would say that the commitment and the willpower is the gift frequency. That's when you are on your pathway, you are going towards something, and then you have that willpower. And the interesting thing with this hub is that the highest frequency is the surrender, and that's actually surrender is not doing anything. It's kind of giving over to higher power, like God or universe, and be like, okay, I'm just going to allow kind of the things that talk to me, that talk to my heart. That's the way I go, and then I use my energy. But it's kind of it's not your mind or your ego that decides where you're going. It's a surrender to a higher will that you're here to serve. And that's where those gates, the 51 is initiates, the 26 becomes really artful, the 21 we see it in its true authority, and the 40 we see it like resolve things that seemed impossible. So at that, when this center combines with this higher will, God's will, the divine will, then it's the way they move through the world is just amazing.
Yeah, you're surrendering that little I. Yeah, it's cool. Okay, are we ready? Is the poll done? Let's see what we're going to talk about.
It's great. 91% of people did vote this time, and we have 40% of votes for the hypnotist.
Oh, hello. Somebody was asking in the chat too. Can you do the whole channel for the 26 so we can bridge the 44? So you're going to see here, the 26 lives over here, and then it comes over and it kisses the 44. They meet in the middle, because this is also called coming to meet the 44. So the 26 is the ultimate salesperson, and they're the hypnotist. So they can sell anything to you. And it could be poop on a stick that they sell to you. You're like, I don't know why I bought this. Oh, I bought it because they're a really good salesperson. And that's, if you've ever watched late night infomercials back in the day, I don't even know if they have them now, like QVC, they hire really great salespersons because they're great at selling the product, whether it's crap or not. They're like, here, we're putting this up. It's a limited time deal, and the 26 is a great salesperson and a great manager of other people as well. If the 44 is all about teamwork and the 26 is about artfulness, and the 44 is going to smell out the talent, and the 26 is going to know what to do with it. They're going to come together, and the 26 is going to use the instinct and the intuition of the 44 to really know, how do I need to speak to this person? What do I need to say to this person? Like, how are we going to sell this? And the 26, the way that this willpower works, because we have commitment willpower, it's gonna want to do the least amount of work to have the most amount of return. And when it does get its return, it's gonna want to lean back a little bit and just be like, oh yes, okay, I'm gonna go golf, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna, but it's gonna work, and it's gonna get its sale, and then it's gonna have that downtime. It's working so that it can have its reward and be like, oh, I need a little bit of time before it needs to put in more of those sales, So that's kind of how the hypnotist works. But in this higher expression, the hypnotist is really selling from the heart. So it's not a self-serving me, I need this money, I need this sale, I need this. It's like, all right, this, I really identify with this. I really think that this is what you need right now. And let me see if I can figure out a way that you can get this. It's more artful in its delivery, instead of lying about why you need this, and then you feel crummy after you buy it. Like that, those really slimy used car salesmen is like, yeah, this is a gem, you're not gonna find this anywhere else. And then it's like, oh, there's sawdust in the engine, and it makes all these noises, and it's shit, and it's a lemon. It doesn't care about the person after the purchase. But the 26 and the higher expression, it is going to care. It's going to stand behind what it's standing for, and it's selling you because it would buy it, Okay.
Yeah, I have two more things. So when the 26 is activated in the transits, or I'm with a person that have the 26, that's when I actually can even think of like making somebody pay for a service almost. Like when I don't have the 26, it feels like I want to give away everything for free. But when we have the nodes, for example, that stay for more than a month, then I have the 26 and I'm like, oh, I want to look at my prices. I want to value myself more. So it's really interesting how that 26, like when you have a completely open ego, you don't even know, because it's like I think that worthiness, you don't connect it to some of those ego things. And then that's why it's right. Like I don't really have a reference point for it, but when the 26 comes in, my 44, which I have, becomes ignited, and then suddenly it's like it makes more sense for me. When it comes to this channel, Ashley has the whole channel. I have a lot of people in my life that have the whole channel. In the lower frequency, it's manipulation. So Ashley and I was speaking about something else yesterday, but she's like, she can say something, and then like she can speak about her understanding in a way so that it sounds like it's truth. And then, you kind of like, wait a moment, that sounded really good, but wait, what did she actually say? And that happens to me often with that.
And Bella comes in with her logic and she's like, this doesn't make sense. Oh, I just really wanted it to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's tribal. So it's not necessarily logical. It's tribal. And it's something that actually feels like that for the tribe, for our company, for something, that's what makes sense. And that's her understanding. And then she portrays it's truth. And then you're like, wait a moment. But the beautiful thing with it is that it is a transmission. That's the gift frequency in this channel. It is a transmission, and she's putting it out there. And then you kind of have to like see if it's true or not. That's the
disclaimer. You decide if it's of value or not. I'm just selling it.
And the beautiful thing is the highest frequency is alchemy. So, she does create that magic with a person that she's transmitting to, because I feel like in alchemy with her and I want to be in her tribe. And I feel so lucky, we are in the same tribe. So manipulation, transmission, and alchemy is the frequency band for this whole channel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, goodbye, Ego Hub. We'll see you later. Thank you. Okay. Move into the center of the body graph. This is the identity hub, and it's all about sense of direction and love. You probably heard it say direction, identity, love when they're describing that. When Bella and I were talking about the theme for this hub, she really felt like sense of direction was really important. And if you look at this, you're going to see that the vessel of love, 10, 15, 46, 25, this is completely, if you're this incarnation cross, you're completely housed within the center. Like your life's work, evolution, radiance, and purpose, all in the same center, which means it's probably also defined, probably, unless you're a reflector. And maybe you're that sphinx or vessel of love that has it open. But when it is defined and you have everything in the center, you have that really strong sense of either sense of direction or love. The sphinx, we have the 1, the 7, the 13, and the 2. And this is about direction of the self. And they're portrayed like in differently for each of these. Like all of these support the direction of the self with the 1, the 7, the 13, the 2. And we'll see that that's the alpha, the spark, the confidant, and the feminine. And then for the vessel of love, we have the natural, the wild woman, the sensual, and love. And this is, I feel like if we were going to go into like evolution of everything, I think that everything would fold into this center. Just feels like this is where you're returning home to yourself. This is like the hub of the hubs. Everybody's going to like gather around here. And I feel like we can learn so much from this center. Bella, can you elaborate and go into a little bit more of this hub?
Yeah, if you're new to this, what Ashley was just saying, she's speaking about incarnation cross, and incarnation cross comes from the 4 gates that are in the top of your human design graph. You're gonna have 2 black numbers on the top and then 2 red numbers. And like she was saying, there are in 2 cases where people are gonna have all those 4 numbers are going to be inside this hub, inside the center. So that is a little bit special. Usually we have 4 numbers, they come from a little bit everywhere, but here it's very concentrated in the center. So for example, I have in my 4 top ones, which is my sun and my earth in the moment I was born, and the sun and the earth 3 months before on the red side, I have the 2, the 1, the 7, and the 13. And this is the sense of direction. So, and it's, for me, it's defined. You can actually have it as your incarnation cross, but it's not a defined center, it's a white center. But I happen to have it defined. So for me, that sense of direction is very strong. And I feel like I've been orienting and navigating my whole life from that. And it's really about, I believe that the most important thing with this center is to not be fixed. Like you are fixed in a direction, but you don't want to be, okay, you don't want to be stuck. You don't want to hold on to an identity. That is the worst thing. And I see that there are people who have open centers, he have an open center here. That can be, you hook on your trajectory, your life on somebody else, on a job that you do for 45 years, or on your husband that you follow around the world. No, it's really here about being fluid in your direction is always changing. Your direction is always moving, but you have this, I would say that it's the sense of self that allows you to know your direction. It's the sense of self that allows you to know what love is. It's the sense of self that it starts with. And the sense of self is not an attachment to an identity. And that is the biggest, that's the biggest learning, I would say, with this center. It's, yeah, I think that's enough actually for kind of the center.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Beautiful. So, we are at a little bit over an hour. I just want to let you guys know, if you can't keep watching with us, there will be a replay. That replay will be emailed out to those who are registered. So make sure that you're registered for this. If you are in the Zoom because you got the link, here is where you can register, and I'll just post it. And then if you're watching through Facebook, we'll post it in the chat as well. But if you are here and you want to watch the replay and you can't keep going with us, then there's the link. You're going to want to stay till the end, especially if you are in the Zoom container, because we are giving away something for free, and we have a big discount for people who are here for our next exploration, if you do feel called to do that. So if you are wanting to stay with us, stay till the end. We also have an activity that we're doing that will be off camera, not streamed live, I mean. So yeah, stay with us till the end, and it'll be worth it, I promise. Maybe that's my 26 trying to sell you something, but it will be worth it, especially for me. I feel very strongly about that. So thank you for being here. Is there anything that you want to mention about your life's work in the 2, Bella, in this center?
Yeah, I do believe that it has a sense of direction that's really strong, but it comes from being in the yin, in the feminine, and orienting in every moment. So it has the sense of direction. When you look at it, it looks like it's really decided where it's going, but it's always honing in on intuition. And that's how it's a way shower. It's a reliable way shower. And when we look where it is in the astrology, it's going to be a Taurus gate, and it's a fixed gate. But so it's going to be stable, but it's not stable and stoic and strict. It's actually orienting in every moment. And I want to go in just to tell you about the frequency band. It can be a little bit tricky in the center, but the low frequency is me, me, me. Me, I'm a teacher. Me, I'm a wife. Me, I am white. Me, I'm black. It's like me, me, me attached to something. That's the low frequency. And then the higher frequencies, when you start to have a sense of self, a sense that can be fluid. So if you have an open G center, you're going to have many love stories, maybe. You're going to live in many places. You have this kind of fluid sense of self where you tune into things and you tune out to things. You don't get stuck as somebody's husband or somebody's wife or this or that. You know, the more, I feel like right now in the world is even more important because things are kind of changing faster than ever. And at the highest frequency, you actually feel a sense of oneness. And that's where, you know, I can see I have this sense of direction, but I can like feel the beauty of people that are open there, and that tune into me, maybe have the 14. Like, we kind of start to see the play in our orientation. We see all the other moving parts, and we feel it as a oneness, as a system, as a dance, as a move together, because nobody's attaching, really. Everybody's kind of playing in this divine play with a healthy sense of self.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Beautiful. Okay. So a question that I saw on Facebook and then here, remember, Bella mentioned this earlier, if it's open, white, undefined, but you have some activations, maybe you have the 15, and the 15 is love of humanity, and the 10 is love of self, and the 46 is love of the body, and the 25 is love of a greater spirit. But maybe you don't have any of the Sphinx gates, and maybe you're plugging into someone like Bella, who has this defined sense of direction. She knows who she is, she knows where she's going, and maybe you'll plug into her, and so you're acting different around her, and you're going on her trajectory and her vision and her orientation, because you're plugging into that. So people who have an open identity center, it's hard to define, like, who am I, what do I love? Because when you're plugged into other people, you can plug into who they are and what they love, and you'll take that on, just like any of the other centers. It's not consistent energy here. It's not a consistent sense of self. You're going to be really great at mirroring and reflecting back to people who they are. You can see deep into their soul, but do you feel seen? Do you feel like people can see you? And it's not a bad thing to be like a chameleon. It's actually a beautiful gift. Each of these have a gift in their openness and in their definition. And we'll go into that a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and I want to say one thing about the mechanics here. So if this is open and you have, gates or activations that you see either in black or in red that goes, halfway to somewhere else, that's actually where you want to look. So if you have the 25, it's in an open center. That means that you're not going to have the gate on the other side, because then it would have been colored in. So you have the 25, and you can see it like an arm that is actually reaching out. So more than me coming in and plugging into your 2 suddenly would probably be you yourself having that 25 reaching out for the other side. What is the other side? Is the 51. So you're reaching out for shock in the low frequency. But if you're in a higher frequency and you're living that universal love and that acceptance of the 25, well, then you're reaching out for initiation on the other side in that ego center. So knowing that if you have a white center and there are either red or black arms that comes out of that center, you're connecting to what's on the other side. And that's probably going to be a theme that you're going to live in your relationships, that you're going to live in certain periods of your life when maybe a big planet like Saturn, it's staying there and giving you that shock, that initiation over and over again. So you really want to look at those arms and the theme of those arms and see how it comes to you through people, through life, basically.
Yes. Thank you, Bella. And that applies for all the centers. Yes, that applies for all of them, like the hanging gates, as Bella was describing. All right, let's move on to the next center. This hub is called the throat hub. And a lot of the energy is moving towards this because this is all about expression and manifestation. You'll see that this is a very robust hub. There's a lot of people that live in this dormitory. There's a lot of rooms, right? So we have the scientist, the translator, the comedian, the heroine, the prophet, goodwill, the medicine woman, the influencer, the president, the tranquil, and the enthusiast. And you'll see that, this goes absolutely almost everywhere. It connects to a lot of the centers, and a lot of variation and a lot of different expressions of the voice. So each of these archetypes are going to say a different thing. They're going to have a different unique expression. For me, I have the 16 in an open throat. So whenever I get activated in my throat, it's like, am I excited about this or not? Do I have these skills and versatility or not? That's what I'm sharing in my expression. And in that openness, I can feel the pressure from people who have a defined throat. And I feel a lot of pressure to speak as well, because I can feel that there is something to be said. Yes. Thank you for sharing what gates you have. I feel like this is an important center. All the centers are important. The hubs are important, but this is really where we start to see your personality, your expression get manifested on the physical plane. And it's not just because it's the throat. It's not just communication. There's nonverbal communication as well. And manifestation comes in many different ways. Yes. Can you expand on this beautiful hub, Bella?
Yeah, when somebody has a defined throat, then they have a way of speaking that is not going to change so much depending on where they are. There's this definition of your voice, the way it comes out in the world. And depending on where we are in the root center, there can be more of like a logical expression. There can be more like of an abstract or emotional expression. There can be more like an unique individual expressions. Like Ashley is saying, there are many different flavors of this center, but it's not going to depend. It's not going to be a difference if I sit here and speak with you or if I go to dinner. Like, you're going to feel, I have a defined throat, you're going to feel my expression similarly wherever I am, and it's my flavor in the world. If you have an open hub here, you are going to be able to tune in to what kind of needs to be said in a moment. If you're in a low frequency, then it can, whatever, you can kind of tune into saying something that is in a low frequency. And if you have a lot of pressure, maybe you are working for a company and you're a spokesperson in some way or another, like you're the perfect spokesperson in a way with an open throat, because you feel the pressure to say the things that are around you that wants to be said. And sometimes Ashley comes in and feels like really uncomfortable in her throat, and then like she feels the pressure that something needs to be said. So knowing that when you have an open throat, I think that can be I think that can be a challenge, but there's a beauty of it too. I know a lot of artists. My partner is an artist, and he has an open throat, and I think it's 6 different activation in it. And he has like this myriad of ways of expressing, of singing, of dancing, of playing instruments with rhythm. Like, he has so many ways. But sometimes he prefers to be quiet. Like, if he feels a threat, he's not going to say anything, because then he knows he can be burned at stake. He's also 5'1", which is part of that as well. The beautiful thing I want to go back to here is some of the questions we haven't had in the chat. You were asking if there are some arms that are pulling out, some gates that are coming from an open center. What happens if your partner have them? Can that be a bridge? Well, basically, in my case, my partner has the 8 and the 33, and I have the 1 and the 13. So suddenly, when he's with me, it's almost like his expression becomes more stable. And the beautiful thing here too is that when you have 2 gates that meet, that one person has one gate and one person has the other gate, you're not having an overpowering that I come in and I say, this is my expression. No, he's bridging something where I have a hanging arm, he has a hanging arm, we come together and we have access to something we don't have on our own. And for him, his throat, which is undefined and has so much openness, it becomes defined through that bridging. So there is something where you can see with your partner, what are the centers that are open in your chart, but when you get the other arm, what gets defined? What do you get access to consistently, because it's with somebody who's in your life that you don't have access to when you're on your own.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's give a specific example. And to do that, I'd love one of you who are participating to actually use your voice to pick which one. So if you would like to select which archetype we highlight for this hub, please type in the chat, and we'll pick one person, and then you'll have to use your voice to, oh, there's a lot of people for, oh, all right. Bella, did you want to promote somebody so they can talk that has said something in the chat? Can you pick one of the people?
I'm going to promote Tanya if you can speak, and if you can't, we'll. Did it work?
Hello, hello.
Oh, Tanya. What archetype would you like us to highlight?
31.
Do you have the president in your design?
My personality, Earth.
Oh, nice. Your personality, Earth. So that would be your evolution sphere in the gene keys. your greatest challenge to step up and use your voice as the president? Oh, I'm glad that you're using your voice right now.
I don't mind using my voice. I speak for a living and everything. It's just putting myself out there and being vulnerable, speaking my truth versus facts.
Bella, you want to come in? You have this as well in your attraction sphere. You and Tanya are attracted together. You share the same resonance.
Yeah. I mean, here we have the voice of the leader. And when we only have the 31 and not the 7, that's really, it is that voice, that the voice that comes from the logical circuitry. So this is somebody who can look at the past and who can actually see what is a logical way to move forward. What do we need to do? And speak about it in a way so that other people in a logical way can resonate. And it's not so much the person who needs to stand on the podium. The channel of the 31 and the 7 is, often we say it's like the kind of the voice or the hand behind the throne. So it has that overview. It knows where we're going and it can speak to where we're going. In the low frequency, it can be arrogant, because when you have that overview and you know what needs to happen, it's easy to kind of be arrogant about it. I have this in my attraction sphere in the 6th line. So I always think that I know, and I can be arrogant about it. But in a higher frequency, it is about leadership. It is about actually having the courage. So like Tanya is saying, she has the courage to be vulnerable and she speaks for a living. Well, that's what the 31 is in a higher frequency. It's not arrogant. It's actually exposing itself, and leadership happens in the moment. Leadership is about thinking on your feet. You have that logical underpinning of what has happened and how things are, but it's really about being able to walk towards an uncertain future and have the guts and have the voice to be able to take yourself and take the collective, actually, because it is a collective gate there. And I mean, this goes into really much what the whole center is about in the 3 frequencies, because the lowest frequency is distortion. Of course, I can be really convincing. Tanya can probably be really convincing too, and just distort the truth and have people believe it, because we underpin it with logic, we underpin it with energy, we underpin it with the art of manipulation, in a way, like we were saying with the 26. I believe that the throat center, I mean, the throat center is amazing in the sense that with so many expressions, like it is highly creative. There is a creativity in the sacral that we didn't speak about so much, but it's that sensuality and the sexuality. Here we have a creativity that actually transform, like metamorphosis. Sometimes you can hear something and it can be so beautiful, so it changes you forever. Like I think that it's happened to all of you sometimes. A speech, something, you hear something, and there's just something that opens in you. It changes you. And that is the creativity used from the throat that has that ability. And the highest frequencies is emergence, but I would say appearance. Like in that moment, when the metamorphosis happen in you, there is something new that appears. There is something that you haven't seen or you haven't felt before. It's like a new manifestation. And that's why this is the manifesting center, because it takes the creativity and it speaks it out so that there is change and there is something new that emerges. So for me, like I think there's a lot of spirituality too, like by bringing out something new in the world through the center.
How does is Tanya, is her mic still on?
No, I put her back. I put her
okay.
back.
Did you want to respond to that? How did that resonate, Tanya? I'd love to hear your voice one last time.
Hey, now you can talk if you want to.
It resonates, for me, it's putting myself out there and speaking my truth instead of hard facts, like that can be proved, like speaking about human design and astrology and all that stuff. It's hard for me to speak about that because, well, I see the facts, not the rest of the world does.
Do you have a lot of individual circuitry? Do you have the 8 or the 23 or the 1 or the 2? Like, do you know if you have individual circuitry in your chart?
I have one. I have the 1, yes.
Well, that is your creative spark in the world, what hasn't been expressed before, and it doesn't care about followers. It doesn't care about, it just kind of cares about that spark that comes through. So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said that the 31 was Earth, but it's also my Jupiter. So.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your voice and also picking the president for us to go into for the throat hub. We appreciate you. Thanks, Tanya. Okay. Well, we have 2 more centers left, 2 more hubs left to go into. And they're what's above the throat. And a lot of what we are conditioned and trained to put all of our energy and focus towards, everything that's going on in the head. So the head and the ajna left that you'll see going on here. For those of you new to human design or are, seasoned, you all know that it's about our inner authority, and we're wanting to approach this through an embodiment lens, and how can we include the body and put the body first as well. So these centers are amazing. They have their own resources, their own themes, and their own archetypes that live within them that are very powerful. And we're going to go into the Ajna hub first. And just remember that these are amazing, but it is about the body, and it is about your own inner authority, which nobody's authority is the mind or mental. So here we have the ajna, we have vision, and brain balance. And so this is connected to the pituitary gland and the third eye. There is a lot of conceptualization, a lot of things that happen within here. It is pulling from the throat, as you see. It's going down into the throat, and it's pulling from the head center. So it's bringing in those inspirations, the things that come in through the head, and it's going to conceptualize it. It's going to become certain about it here, and then it's going to translate it, and it's going to then express it through the throat.
You can always go to Jovian, because that's where all this comes from. So here
a return to the source. Yes, Ra Uruhu is the one that has pulled through this transmission through his encounter with the voice. And I don't know if Ra has a defined ajna or not. I don't know if he was certain about this or not. Do you know if he had a defined ajna? I mean,
I believe he did.
Yeah,
he had a 4323.
Okay. Oh, yes. The genius of the freak channel. Okay, perfect. So we have the 47 we call the alchemist, the 24 we call the inventor, the 4 is the philosopher, the 17 is the discoverer, the 43 is the rebel, and the 11 is the idealist. And so those are the archetypes that live within the Ajna hub. And again, it was ideas, brain balance, vision. Did you want to dive into more about the ajna, Bella?
I mean, I would say certainty for good or for bad. When you have a defined center, you have like a consistent way of processing information, a consistent way of thinking. It's like a process that the way you think, and that can also make you kind of come to similar conclusions, because the way that your brain processes is similar, and it wants to process and kind of arrive at the conclusion. It's really good at that. But the thing is, when you become rigid, and as we grow up and become adults and we live in one culture, a lot of those ways that the brain can connect is kind of like turned off, and we always connect in the same tracks. And that is the problem with this center, that it kind of can make you come into tracks that are fixed. And I would say that this is a low frequency, both in a defined ashna and in an open ashna. Like that fixedness of this is the way it is and there's no other truth doesn't serve us. It's very similar to the G center, where we hold on to attached to an identity. We're not here to attach to an idea or attach to an identity. We're actually here to use this amazing instrument of our mind to be able to play with ideas. I would say if you have an open ashna, even more important to not be rigid. I have only the 11 in the center, I have it twice. It's about having all these different ideas. And for me, it's been like living in different places so that I can be shown all these different possibilities. And then I don't have to say the Spanish way of living is better than the Swedish way of living. This is the way that you do things because now I live in America. It's like there's no need for doing that. it is about allowing all these ideas coming in and out. And it can be, if you have an open ashna, like brainstorming, you can be really good at that. And you can actually, even if there's a process coming to a conclusion that somebody with a defined ashna has come up with, the open ashna can be really good to come in and ask questions and come with ideas and kind of refine that process even more. In the low frequency descent is about anxiety. When you kind of go, when you try to kind of come to a conclusion when maybe there isn't even a black or white solution, that goes into anxiety. And we all know it when the mind just, when the mind does its thing and we can't stop it. That's like the ashna it's in anxiety, and it's just like going round and round and round. And the higher frequency here is actually thinking, to be able to have a coherent process that goes from point A to point B. And that, we need that all the time. We know that when we can't think, like Alzheimer's and dementia and these things, it's like when the thinking doesn't work, then nothing really works for us. So it is important. The pathway here is to think when we need to like get from point A to point B, and then it works, but to not overthink and not overcomplicate and not becoming overly rigid. And then the highest frequency here is awareness. So this is one of 3 awareness centers. And it's alone, it can't work. The way that we have those 9 centers in human design is that the ashna, which is the thinking, the mental awareness, it needs to be combined with a splenic awareness, which is that thing that I kind of complicated a little bit in the beginning, but it isn't complicated. It is that sense, that intuition of things, that sense of the just knowing. It's not logic, it's just knowing. And then we have the emotional awareness that actually allows feelings and emotions to move in and move out. And that gives us an awareness of what's good for us, what it is to be human. So these 3 awareness centers, the splenic, the ashna, and the emotion, that is what makes a human being that is balanced. It listens to emotion, it listens to intuition, it has that beautiful instrument that can think and lead us to things. So that's our complete awareness as human beings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Bella touched on beliefs and ideas, and in the beginning she was kind of alluding to the 11, which is the idealist. This is about beliefs, but it's also the ability to go into the darkness as well. It's not afraid. This archetype in particular isn't afraid to go into the shadows, into the darkness. It could get stuck there and it could get stuck in obscurity, but it is about bringing things to light. So if you do have that defined, you may have beliefs that are fixed in you, that you're not wanting to look at the other side. So you can also get, with the 17, the discoverer, very fixed on your opinion of what you believe, the 17 and 11, your opinion of what you believe, and then try to push that on other people because you're so certain about it, especially if your identity has been built off of those beliefs to give you this sense of certainty and security, which maybe we're looking back at the root chakra and you don't have that foundation, you don't have that stability. So you're looking to your mind to give that to you.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. Similarly, like what we said about the throat, we have that unique way, we have the logical way, we have the abstract way. Here, the same thing. There are different strengths that you can have depending on what gates. So the 47 and the 11 are abstract. They often think in images. They're not even words there. It's abstract. The 17 and the 4 is logical. So it can be numbers. It can be like math or grammar, that kind of logical way. And then we have the 24 and the 43, which is actually just like knowing. It kind of might not even feel like thinking. It just is kind of like insight that comes in and the penny drops. So knowing as well that there are flavors of these gates that, of course, you could go in much, much deeper into, but it's important to know, is what I feel.
Mm-hmm. So moving into the head hub has 3 archetypes living in it. We have.
You want me to start the poll so that people can?
Oh, yes. Start the poll. We have one more poll for you. You get to pick whether we're going to go into the artist, the mystic, which is the 61, or the detective, which is the 63. And the head hub is all about inspiration and sense making. And it is bringing in these ideas. It's bringing in, it's fresh, new. If you have it defined, you're the one that is thinking about the things. And other people that have it open, they're the ones that are picking it up. They're picking up your thoughts. If you have a defined head and ajna, if you have a defined head, you have a defined ajna, because you have to have one of these channels defined. And I think John Martin, he was the one that I learned this from, that it's really easy to kind of put ideas in other people's heads. Like, oh, I really want to go for ice cream right now. And then somebody else is like, hey, do you want to go for ice cream? Oh, yes, I do. Thanks for saying that. So it's kind of cool to be able to read people's thoughts, but it's also unfortunate when you do have the influence of somebody that has a defined head in Ajna and they're influencing what you say. And you're like, I don't know why I said this. So it's always important, check in with yourself. What you're thinking, what you're saying, is this coming from me? Is this right for me? There's a discernment that needs to happen inside the head hub. Can you elaborate and keep going on this, Bella?
Yeah, I like the frequency bands here. You know, these are the things that are out there. Confusion, doubt, and psychosis. They're out there. And if you have an open head, you're going to really feel the psychosis, the doubt, and the confusion in the world. And it's going to possibly affect you if you think it has to do with you, if you think that it's yours, if you think that there is a problem with you because you feel it, then that's what can happen. I feel like if you have a defined head, it can be more the confusion, the doubt, or even the psychosis that you have in your, like, it's more about it's defined. And I feel like it's somehow becomes more personal because it's your fixedness, it's your definition, is where you are here to explore things. So you probably is going to explore your own doubt, your own confusion, and your own psychosis. I have the 61, so I'm sure I have explored my own psychosis in an open center. And the beauty here is that when we can let go of those low frequencies, when we can say, I'm not going to think about things that don't matter, because me getting stuck in the confusion, in the doubt, and the psychosis of the world is not going to help me, is not going to help anybody else. And when you kind of I almost feel like it's that decision. I sometimes feel I'm going away in these loops, and then I kind of just kind of the same thing as with Ash, like, wait a moment, like, what am I doing? And that can very, very much happen with social media, with news, with things out there. You are scrolling, your head is going in all kinds of direction. It's making you more confused, more doubting where this world is going. And, you feel psychotic yourself. And that's when you can just stop it. And when you stop and allow some space for the center, that is when inspiration, pure inspiration can come in. That's when imagination can come in. And that's when you can start to inquire about your truth instead of being fed with your truth from the outside. When you use the collective field to feed yourself, there is often no place for true inquiry. So here is where we want to have that connection. The 61 is the connection to the inner truth, but it's also the connection to the great mystery. And the great mystery is beyond the shatter of the collective. So this center is really asking you to go, crown is like even over your head. It's not in the space of the noise that is here. It's taking you beyond the noise and allowing you to tap into a greater truth, to a higher self, to a great big divine mystery that's there. And that's what people that have those gates can bring in. And I mean, I think it's fast. I think that my head is fascinating. I have an open head with only the 61. There is something where, I don't know, but there is such a vastness with that, what I feel for me with that makeup. And I think the way that I see people that have a defined head with those gates, I know a lot of people with the 64. Richard Rudd is one of them that has a defined head. So they can actually in a process that is more fixed in a way, or not more fixed, more consistent, they can bring in those inspirations, those imaginations into form. Whereas I might more be fascinated over what's going on there. But it's so beautiful when we have those archetypes, the artist and the mystic and the detective.
So which one did we choose?
Let's see. I'm going to share it with you. Can you see it?
No. but that's because I'm screen sharing, but I'm sure
Okay.
everybody else can see it.
So it says 81% of you voted. We have a winner, which is the mystic, and 44% of you wanted the mystic. So, well, I kind of already spoke about the mystic.
It's so cool though. I mean, the mystic is wanting to touch that great mystery. It's wanting to know the answer, like the why, like why. What is the meaning of life? It's not going to be comfortable with just like a answer. It wants the answer and it's going to search for it. And it's connected to the 24 on the other side of it. And the 24 can get addicted in this process of trying to uncover and discover it for itself. But like Bella said, if you reach towards the greater mystery, that in silence, that will be illuminated to you when you get into silence. And I know that it's really hard for some people that have a defined head and ajna for them to shut the inner voice off. It just seems like it keeps going because there's consistent energy going there, right? I go into my nothing box and I don't even think about anything. I'm just like, Justin's like my husband who has an open head and ajna, but he has a lot of definition here. He's always going over the doubt and trying to find the truth and trying to get illumination or whatnot. And I have completely open and I'm like, I don't know, there's nothing. I'm not open for business. I don't want anything to come in. I'd rather just sit in silence right now. But I mean, I love that with what I can notice from Bella, because I have it open there in the 61, like the psychosis that I noticed when it was in the beginning of us was she always talked about the body. I'm like, what is up with the body? Everything is linked to the body. And now I like drank the Kool-Aid. I'm like, yeah, okay, everything is about the body. And now I'm in the psychosis, but the psychosis has inspired me to return to my body as a 5-1 where I hung out in my head and I was like, let's solve these problems. And like, who cares about the body? I have a healthy body. That's fine, whatever. And now I'm kind of like in the body, like going and doing the work. And it's transformative. So I'm glad that I came into her field of psychosis, but it was psychosis for the better because her inspiration inspired me and got me excited. So
yeah, and as we do this, like I have the intuition, like I want to almost close my eyes. Like when we speak about the 61 and we started with the 60, you know, it's kind of perfect how we went through all the centers. In the 60, we're saying the channel that goes from the root to the sacral. It is this pulse of life, you know. So here we have the connection between that base, the perineum, the base of us, and here we have the top of us and beyond. So it's really it is really this middle pillar that the more centered we are in our life energy through all the centers, the more aligned our life is going to be. And one more thing I would say about the center and any of those centers in the middle pillar, this is individual circuitry, and there can be a melancholy because the 61 is the gate of knowing. And often I just have the knowing. And then it takes a while for other to kind of like, they might think they're coming into my psychosis, but I'm like, you finally woke up. So anything that you have in this middle pillar, it's part of what we call the individual circuitry, and it has an inherent knowing. And when you feel like the world is not there yet, or the world doesn't understand, it can feel like a melancholy. Like why can't they see it? You know. So if you have the 61, I would say it's both in a defined and undefined center. And I think the important thing here is to always to like bring it down into the body and actually ground it, because that 61 can bring you far away, and it can bring you deep into melancholy. And they even speak about this gate of like fanatism, because it's not logical, so it can go really far out in that sense. So bring it back to the body. we end there, since I'm fanatical about the body.
the magic is in the body. Yes, the answer to all your questions are in the body. Beautiful, which kind of bridges us into where we're going next. And obviously, I mean, thank you so much for being with us for this almost 2 hours. We can never be certain about the timing of things and how long we'll act, because I have an open throat, she has an open head and nausea. We can speak forever. And sometimes certain things like need longer to talk about. And it's beautiful not having a time limit and being able to flow with things and not collapsing to the pressure of, oh, we said it was going to be this. So I love that you're here. And I love that you were able to be on for this. We do have some special things at the end. And I promise we won't take you too much longer, but we did want to let you know kind of what are we moving towards? What are we going forward after this? Because a lot of this was let's reintroduce you to the hubs, and let's give you that, like the theme within there, and go into a particular archetype, right? So that was what we just went through. And what we are wanting to take you on moving forward is this investigation, inquiry, and embodiment of these centers. It's not enough to understand it in your head at all. It's not enough. And that is something that I've learned over my out of 5 years, more than that, of this deconditioning process and learning human design and gene keys every single day for the past, like, however many years. I've spent much of the time trying to understand it with my mind. And it wasn't until I started to live it in my body that things started to click and things started to move. But it took a while in the deconditioning process to get there. And so what we're hoping is, instead of entering in through the mind, we want to enter in through the body. So we want to take you on an embodiment process. And the first stop, much like we began, is at the root. And you'll see that this slide is red and it's Thrive by Design, foundation and stability. And you'll see this is the key to your root, where we are going to unlock foundation and stability. And Bella alluded to it in the beginning. We're going to talk about financial stability. We're going to talk about the things that knock us off kilter, that make us feel all this pressure, so that we can feel it in our body and start to unlock and uncover what is true foundation and stability that's sourced and resourced from within us. And that's what's going to give us that power. That's what's going to give us the fuel to power our body, is when we feel those roots going down deep into the ground. And we're going to go into all of the centers. But first, we're going to start in the root. And November is going to be, the theme of November is going to be the root, foundation and stability. And we're doing this inside of our inner circle container. So the inner circle is our paid membership. It's as low as $44 a month, putting everything out there in the beginning, for you to join. And every single month for the next 9-10 months, we're going to go into a different center. And you'll see us posting, you'll see us talking about these centers publicly. But the embodiment process and us going into, like, the practicality of, let's be in our root, let's express through our root, let's really, like, unlock and uncover that stability, that abundance that lives in the root, during that month of November. So all of November, we're going to be going into this. I kind of feel you coming in, Bella. Do you have anything that you're wanting to say right now, or bring us a direction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. And I actually want people with us that are excited too, and people that are curious about how it feels to live your design and live your truth, and want to kind of knock on the door and go into the vortex. You saw the images. It's like a vortex in each center, and each center is a hub, and it has wisdom, it has energy, it has so much for us. So to kind of get to know ourselves from the inside is what I feel.
Yes. Yeah, so this is kind of your invitation into the inner circle. And within the inner circle, obviously, I mean, you can go check it out, bit.ly/UYD capital -inner circle. I'll post the links in the comments as well, to get to know kind of what we're going to do in there. And within the inner circle, we're going to go into each of the centers. Like we said, we're going to start with the body. And we're going to go and do embodiment exercises. We're going to talk about how to include the body. We're going to give you practical tips. And then, like always, we're always going to give you the teaching, the understanding, because sometimes our mind likes to just, I need to understand it. And sometimes, like Bella said, with the throat center, you just got to hear it a certain way for you to relax into your body, so that your mind can we got this. It's okay. Let's just surrender to the body, and it's going to be okay. So we're going to have within the container of the inner circle, we're going to have that embodiment first and foremost. We're going to be doing chart readings, like for one person in the inner circle each month, and we're going to highlight that center and what it's like for that person in particular. You're going to have the opportunity to experience that, and then the teaching. So there's going to be 3 weeks out of the month that we're going to be, really coming live or delivering something to you. And the first week of the month is always going to be this introduction to the center, which will always have like that open door for anybody that wants to join. It is monthly membership. You can cancel anytime. There's no commitment. There's no pressure from us. Come in. If you're coming in through the root, great. If you're going to do the whole journey, great. If you want to come in for the sacral, for whatever it is, you can do that. But I know that you'll feel within your inner authority when and if it is right for you when it is. Yeah. So the first option, the standard membership for Thrive by Design, this is what we're doing inside the inner circle. So the whole thematic units will be about Thrive by Design. So we already went over that. You'll also be able to get 20% off of all of our courses inside the academy and 10% off of all of our readings. Every single month inside the inner circle, we're going to have that focus. When the month is over, the content is gone. We won't have the content for the root in there if you join in the sacral. So if you join from the beginning, you'll have all this material live and it will stay with you for that month. And then the following month, it'll be gone because our focus will not be on that. It'll be on the new hub. So we're going to get rid of that. And that is $44 a month to join if you would like to join the inner circle at the lowest tier. The higher tier, which we highly recommend, is you're going to have everything that the inner circle standard has. You'll also have access to the vault, which means that everything we've been through in the inner circle for this Thrive by Design, you're going to have the root, you're going to have all the different hubs. So as we move through it, you'll start collecting it so that you're able to keep it. What you're also going to get is access to 3 other courses, 3 foundational courses. So we have our Strategy and Authority Foundation course, which is human design, your inner authority, and your strategy for your aura type. We're also going to have Activate Your Genius, which is an immersion into the activation sequence, and that's the gene keys created by Richard Rudd. So this is our spin and our take on it. We go through all the different spheres that are in the activation sequence, and it's a beautiful, wonderful journey. And I highly recommend for anybody that has started or has gone through Richard's thing and you're kind of wanting a different spin on it perspective. Bella's a 4/6, so she's able to take it and really bring the heart of what this transmission is. And I am a 5, so I'm here to universalize. So it will be different than the way that Richard, it's not the same is what I'm trying to say. If you already have Richard's activation sequence, it's not going to be the same taking it from us. And then we have global cycles, which we did. I don't know if it was early this year. It was last year, I believe. But global cycles is all about the coming change that is happening in 2027. And we talk about the locks and we talk about the keys and we talk about the incarnation. It's a little bit advanced, but it's really cool to be able to know what's coming, where we're at now, how to utilize that energy. When we change incarnation crosses, the matrix, the energy, the program is going to change, and it's not going to support what it's supported in the past. So these are the 3 courses that we feel are very important for foundations, and just to give you that little extra oomph. So that's what's included in the premium membership. You'll have access to the vault. So all that we do in Thrive by Design and all these courses for as long as you are a member. And I highly recommend this one, especially if you are wanting any of these courses, which the value of these courses, I mean, this one is $200, and I think it's like almost like $400 of value in here. I'm not quite sure. I could be talking out of my ass, but I don't even remember. Is there anything that you would highlight about the inner circle, Bella?
I mean, I just see in the chat we have some of our people that are just kind of telling other people, and that feels for me that's the biggest, that's the biggest proof in a way that people are in it, love it and like it.
Yes, so much gratitude and appreciation for all of you that are already in the inner circle and are supporting us live on this Thrive by Design Masterclass. We love you, we appreciate you, and we're so excited to dive into the centers, or as we like to call them, the hubs, with you in the inner circle this November. For those of you that are new to us, new to our containers, new to human design, that are watching this masterclass and are interested in joining the inner circle, we would love to invite you into it. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. We are going into the Root Hub this November, and then we will be continuing on for the 8 other centers. So by the end of this Thrive by Design journey, you will have gone into each of the 9 hubs, and you will have leveraged your energy, had some awareness about who you are by design and tapped into that abundance that is already alive inside of you. And we hope that you will say yes to the inner circle, and we look forward to meeting you and getting to know you more deeply. So thank you for being here for the Thrive by Design Masterclass, and we hope you enjoyed it.